Good morning. I'm not going to talk about Jays tickets, but I thought that was funny. But I am going to talk about the funding controversy here in Ontario. Oil prices are on the rise. I'm going to talk about that. Now the gold has settled down, I'm going to quickly talk about that too. And Mark Carney prepared us for the budget. I'll talk about that. Let me start off with the gold. Gold steadies, Bitcoin plunges as debasement trade rally comes to a halt. Yeah, gold came down from its record highs down to $4,100, but I'd like to remind people, $4,100 was a record not that long ago. Yeah, man, people have short memories. There's the beginning of October over there, right? $4,100 was a record just like a few days ago. And now people are talking about it like it's the end of the world. No, man, it's just a slight correction. It brings gold back to this trend line that started in midsummer. And it's still way up from the trend line that occurred mid-year last year. Like, I think people get concerned about these things, but don't really look into them at all. Like, look at 2020 to 2024. Almost no change. Over this period of time, I think it was like a 4% increase. Which means this entire 117% increase started last summer. And people are talking like this 4% correction means everything is fine? Really? All right, before I move on to oil, I want to talk about this. Opposition parties call on Ford to fire Labor Minister over $2.5 billion training fund controversy. The controversy is that the money kind of went to the wrong people. We know that $742 million went to applicants that were at the bottom of the pile, while 670 high-scoring applicants were denied. It doesn't look good. My beef is this. Ontario hospitals told to find savings. Really? While funds are being misspent. Ontario Hospital Association has said that hospitals ended last year $360 million in the red and need an additional $1 billion in funding this year to keep pace with population growth and inflation. While $742 million went to what looks like people who shouldn't have got it. All right, oil is on the rise, as is the price of gasoline. Why? Sanctions on Russia. Trump says Putin talks don't go anywhere as he imposes new sanctions. Well, this is the longest 24 hours in history. He said he'd solve this conflict in 24 hours. Every time I speak to Vladimir, I have good conversations, and then they don't go anywhere. Surprise, surprise. Maybe after you had the soldiers unfurl that red carpet, you should have had them arrest Vladimir Putin. Oh, the negotiations would have gone so much better at that point. Art of the deal. Anyway, now that there's more sanctions in place, India has no choice but to buy less Russian oil. India refiners say Russian oil flows will plunge on sanctions. Will these sanctions work? No. No, I've never seen sanctions work. In my entire life, I have never seen sanctions work. I could be wrong. Feel free to pop one into my comments, but I don't recall any working. There's sanctions against Venezuela. That has done nothing. There's sanctions against that country that no one can say on TikTok anymore, and that hasn't done anything. There's been sanctions on Russia. Hasn't done anything yet. Do I think these increased sanctions are going to do anything? No. They're going to play the long game. They're going to try and take the territory, and once the war comes to some type of natural end, they'll deal with sanctions at that point. All right, Mark Carney gave us a bit of a preview on the upcoming budget. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada will double its non-U.S. exports as Canadians can't rely on the U.S. Yeah, as I've been saying for months now, the world is going to trade around the United States. The United States is just going to shit. And for all you people who think the U.S. is a wonderful place, I'm telling you, go, take advantage now. Just tell people you're ICE. You don't need a uniform, you don't need identification, you just need to say that you're ICE. It'll work perfect. You'll be able to hide out there for years, decades even. Look, I'm going to reserve judgment on this until after the fact. Because, let's face it, we won't know if it's a good budget or not until we see results. I do think we have to build up the military. I do think we have to exploit our natural resources more. And I think we have to strike a reasonable compromise when it comes to the climate because, let's face it, we can't stop using fossil fuels. It's not a reasonable direction at this point in time.